to propose today, I feel like we've been talking a lot about governance and about how your economy, your choice, how decision making is so important. But I have a sense that we haven't talked so much why decision making is so important. And it might seem obvious, but then you realize it's not, and that a lot of people are not used to the concept of making decisions. And I even started to try listing out what are things that we usually take decisions on a daily basis, like what are you going to eat, where do you live, who do you spend time with, where do you spend your money at, and all of those decisions that seem very like over the head. We don't even think about them. We just go in a flow. But why we don't think about them? I think there is a weight of the responsibility that decisions can lead to. So when you take a decision, you're responsible for the outcome of your decision, or at least for your fraction of it. And this responsibility can be very difficult because also we don't really have a forgiving culture. And then when you have like a lot of responsibility and then you fuck up on the decision and then you have all that weight with you, and then people are just like waiting to point the finger, and then there is this whole like, okay, so take the decisions away, let me delegate this. And even thinking on how we are like implementing delegating tools, and we're going to start feeling more familiar with this concept of delegating decisions. I think it's important to think like, what are the decisions that we consciously delegate that will be like on chain? You can very consciously pass that decision to someone else because you don't want to deal with that responsibility, or because you understand your limitations. And I think this is another important point on understanding the capabilities and limitations that we have over our self-sovereignty and the self-governing systems that we are a part of. I started to read the Ostram's book again, and one of the notes I had took like back then was that this is a key point for us. Not necessarily the type of resources that we are governing, but the self-governing capabilities and limitations of different systems. So why do we have so many different decision-making tools in the TEC? Because we're talking about different resources and different capabilities of self-governing ourselves. So some tools make it easier, some tools are a little bit harder, and then we can navigate with our understanding of the responsibilities we do want to take. And then while building the forgiving culture. So I just wanted to ask like more in an open reflection, and let's try to keep it to a minute each, the answers. In an open reflection of what is your comfort zone on taking decisions, and what are decisions that you would rather delegate, or that you feel intimidated by the responsibility they might lead on you. And yeah, it's kind of open, but you can also just reflect on the decision-making process you've been having in the TEC or in your life. If anyone has questions, it's cool, but I think it's okay to leave it open as well. And I'll pass to Tamara to start.
Wow, sorry, I'm finishing up an apple. I really like this question, and I'm going to give it a knee-jerk reaction because I haven't really had enough time to think about it. I'd say the decisions that I'm very comfortable making and are decisions that I have experience with, I know well, I know the outcome, I know what to expect, I've thought through it, or, I have intuition based on experience and knowledge. And then it's super comfortable to take those decisions, to make those decisions, can be very quickly. And then I'd say the decisions that I would say I'm definitely much more comfortable delegating is decisions where I'm in the beginning of a learning curve and it would take me, 2 weeks and to come up to speed on something. And so those are the kinds of decisions that obviously, I'd want to delegate to somebody who knows, who I trust, who knows better. So things that take a lot of time to understand and don't have high impact probably are the things that I delegate, or things that will take me a long time to understand, but there's a trusted person that I know that I could delegate to. Yeah, those are the first things that come to mind. I like making decisions for myself. I should say that. I prefer making a decision over having decisions made for me. So generally, it's worth spending the time to understand the implications and the pros and cons of the decision we're making. And I'll pass to Septimus.
Thanks, Tam. For me, it's pretty easy to take decisions that only affect me, even if, like if something I don't really know, but if it only affects me, for me it's easy because I carry with the consequences of that, and it's super hard when it affects others. I don't know why, but maybe they might blame you, or I don't know. But it's for me when it's affecting other people, it's harder. And I'll pass it to Mateo.
Hey everyone. Yeah, I have the same feeling about that. I also think that we make decisions always or most of the times for the best outcome that we desire. So I always think that it's nice to have the liberty to have the decision of choosing to delegate it or actually keep a decision for yourself. So in pose or wanting the best outcome possible. So yeah, I always like to think that decisions that I have made or had experience in the previous time are easier to take because you already learned for experience, of course, that what may be the outcome of it. So yeah, it's a hard context problem, but I always have this mind of a concept that I've heard Vitalik and other people talk about that is futurity, that you leave the decisions for prediction markets or just to like a gamble because you can see the probability of what the outcomes of previous decisions made. You can see or wait for the future outcome of a decision now. So yeah, I think that is very interesting to being able to delegate decisions to a machine even or to other people. I'll pass it to Juanca.
Thanks, Mateo. For me, it's very important the evaluation of the decision and to have like a constant evaluation of the decision that we have made. Because for me, when you take a bad decision, you should be humble enough to change it. And you should have like mechanisms to adapt and to change and to, if you take a bad decision, to take it back. But also, if the evaluation of the decision tells you that you did something good, then you should stick to it, even though that it pushes you certain challenges. Like, yeah, if you do something good, and even though it's hard, you have to keep that way if your internal evaluation tells you that that's what you wanted. But if the outcomes of your decisions are different of what you wanted, then you should have like mechanisms to change and to like address that unwanted situation. And I pass to Bilbao, Sebastian.
Gracias, Juanco. I'm interested in the concept of collective intelligence. Like there's when you have a conversation and with people, there's always like three people that have the same thoughts at the same time, but only one tells it. there's some kind of a collective intelligence that it would be interesting to see how that could be put into a decision-making process. So it's, even though if it's a dictatorship, the collective itself kind of agrees with that one person. There's something hidden behind there that's an interesting process. Pass it on to Chuy Garcia.
Thank you, Sebastian. Yeah, I agree with Juan Carlos and Septi. There is there is also like a process in which you like evaluate the range of how your participation affects the final outcome, and I also feel that this like empathy, towards other, because a lot of times people make decisions without realizing that it's going to affect others. They only think of themselves. And I feel that the process of evaluating like each decision is also an opportunity to like grow individually and just be more aware of the people that surround us. I'll pass it to Craig. Oh, he just left. I'll pass it to Metaverde.
Sorry, it takes me a second to find the unmute on my telefono. I have to make a lot of decisions, and I like that other people aren't making decisions for me, but it's also like kind of a pain in the butt to have to make decisions. And my biggest thing, I think, is just learning how to make the best out of whatever situation comes up. And the decisions that I am not comfortable making for other people have to do with design, especially color. And this is based on my experience on projects. And I don't like to have to make decisions about other people's money or the amount of money that a project's going to put into something. Like I'll advocate for something, but I don't like, and I'll vote on it, that kind of thing. But I wouldn't be comfortable being like the sole person making financial decisions. And Chewy went, I feel like Livy went, Eduardo went. I don't think I've heard from Santi. Santi, I'll pass it to you.
Thank you, Metaverde. I like taking risk. I've always loved taking risk. And I like taking responsibility of deciding for everyone that's around me on any venture that involves risk. I like being transparent, and I like sharing anything that I get involved in. And of course it has consequences, but I think that if you're transparent and you're clear on what can happen, everyone is old enough to decide by themselves. I value transparency. I value being fair and being, sharing everything. So yeah, sometimes things don't go, the outcome is not what you expect, but if everyone knows the game they're playing, I feel I've been fair. I've been, taking the decisions I had to, and it's fine. That's how I approach decisions when they involve everyone else. When they just involve me, I don't give a shit. I just do whatever I think. I don't know who's missing, Livy. I'll pass to you.
Katie? Griff. Go, Griff.
Yeah, I'll try. Oh.
You can go first.
Shall I go first? Thanks, Griff. Well, anyway, I was going to say I can't decide what to say. So, but just kidding. I don't like making decisions about hatch params. And so, yeah, going along with what everybody was saying, which has been really amazing. It's so easy to decide things when it's just about yourself. But I like this idea, Sebastian, collective decision possibility that you're talking about. Tam sent me this article from regenerative teams that I found super interesting, the idea of the cost of sense making, because I was thinking about this in terms of deciding hatch params, the cost of being able to understand something, the learning curve, and being how do we say, not obligated but requested to decide something that you don't feel ready for, you don't feel comfortable about. That's super interesting and hard to. I don't quite know yet what to do with that, but I'm feeling it now, and it just means I have to go to more parties. So I'm going to pass to Griff.
Yeah, go to more parties. More parties. I love that we have so many parties. Yeah, I love making. I kind of fell into a role where that's my main job, is just to make decisions and generally communicate it out to people. And I like making big decisions, and I try to avoid making decisions on details. I really don't like making decisions about like exactly how to communicate things. Like basically, in general, there are things that I don't feel confident about my past history of making decisions, like, you know, on aesthetics and different things like that. So it's really nice to be able to make decisions on competent in things that I feel competent to make decisions on. Yeah, that's probably it. And I'll pass it to Dan. And did you go?
Oh, Dan made a decision to be shopping vegetables, but he was in the Softgov call. So, yeah, but I'm here. Decisions. This is actually super interesting. I was thinking about some of the things that I lead besides my participation in Commons Stack. So one of the things that one of the things that's always comes to mind that I told one of my teens, like, keep this in mind whenever you do X. Anyway, so basically I tell them to I value things getting done instead of like waiting for me to asking me to make a choice. So I value going ahead. And I told them, like, basically when they do something, if it advances us towards having like this idea of a triumph for all of mankind, making something amazing for all of mankind, then we are in the right path. So I don't know if that helps them and puts a lot of pressures in them, but it's been fun so far. Like, that's one of my favorite spaces to collab. And I was thinking about, I was part of this civic innovation lab where we tried League of Democracy. So, a lot of Sigmund Bauman and going and like just leaning on the other people on doing, just letting go. And the fun thing is like, we were engaged in just as well, besides the nice things of the civic and the commons space. In protests in Venezuela, where people are getting shot, and you had to provide your trust to somebody else, and like, we are going down this street, and not that street, and we're gonna clash with the police. So I've been in one of those spaces and being able just to give your trust to that person, because they are probably going to be the right person to make the choice. Or being in rooms when somebody offers you $80 million or something like that and saying no because they come from corruption. Choices, decisions. I think a lot about this and the ethical implications of decision and the importance of, just giving trust to people that had the right qualities, ideas, mindsets, expertise besides what you got. So anyway, just rambling. So I'll pass. Nate, did you go? I didn't hear you.
No, apologies for lateness. I don't really understand the full question about decision making, but
it's just a reflection on decision making, like what decisions are you comfortable on making, what decisions you're more comfortable in delegating?
That is a tough one. I guess the decisions I'm more comfortable in delegating are usually when I know people who have better skills or are more suited to make those decisions, are capable of doing it and empowering them to do it. The ones that I am more comfortable with making are probably, like the other aspect of it, where I'm comfortable in my knowledge and trust that I'm the best person for that decision. So really, it's just seeking out who's most well suited for that particular set of decisions. So that's about it. I'll pass it back to you, Libby.
Manu?
Thank you, Livia. I like making decisions. I think the more you walk away from accountability, the weaker you become. And I believe in I believe that to be a man, you must be a woman, be a human. Particularly, you must take responsibility and sacrifice. And I mean, I value certainty, clarity, conviction, and confidence in decisions. I heard recently. I heard from a podcast that Sebastian Bilbao passed me. An interesting definition of leadership. The person was saying that leadership nowadays has come to be some sort of like dodgy self-interest disguised as service to others, but what it really is being a guardian. And that just changed the way I look at making decisions and conducting myself in a manner that is congruent to being a leader. I make a lot of the more important decisions I've made in my life, I've taken from dreams. There was a point in my life where I was I could control my dreams, so I could ask my subconscious. And I think I always try to make decisions from like a higher knowledge and not just like the limited perspective of my conscious mind. So I look into my subconscious. I look at divinity. I meditate and I ask for guidance, and I ask for counsel too from other people that know more than me. And I go with Santi that I like risk. I take decisions even though I know there's a high probability that it might go wrong, but I value knowledge and experience. When it's just for me, when it's for others, again, I ask for counsel, and the criteria is service and creating value. And usually when I create value for others, there's a way to transfer that into some monetary gain. If not, well, at least I'm helping the people around me. I think that's where I'm coming from. And I'll pass it to
I think there's only Anna Marie left.
Yeah, I'll pass it to Anna Marie.
Well, I think there's probably a bit of me at times. That's all of everything that everyone has said at different times. But I resonate a lot with Tam at the start. I think it's a balance for me of what's the impact with what do I know and what's the context. How important is that decision? Am I the right person to make it? But I really enjoy decision making. I really enjoy the process of, do I have a gut feeling about this? Do I know something about this? Is it helpful? But also very happily hand it off to others if it's in an area of like just messes with my brain. Like some of the tech stuff that I read about here, it's just like, my brain isn't just computing that, so I'll pass it to people that can do that better than me. That's cool. And back to you, Vivian.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. I just wanted one last thing from what Santi said. It made me think of when you're taking risks and taking a decision that will affect a large group of people. It also really helps in this feedback loop to trust that the people will have the discernment to accept it or not, and to not think that we are carrying everyone when we make a large decision, and that people have their sovereignty to opt in and out at any point. And I think this is the place where it's the most important place to always exercise this discernment of what is beneficial for me, and the trust that I can make the best decisions for myself. And one of these decisions might be trusting the decision of someone else. Cool. So quick 1 minute Sourcecred update before we get into the param party is that we started the committee calls. So after Softgov now every week, or maybe we're gonna see what is the cadence of it until we implement everything we need. And everyone is invited to join, although we have this understanding of the committee that a smaller group of people were making these decisions because it's, well, there's more information about it in the proposal, but it's very sensitive data that we're going to be dealing with. So it's not the type of thing that should be like so available to everyone, although there is openness for hearing opinions, and everything is going to be shared transparently. And then ViViV is working on a really cool bot that he actually implemented it already, and this is going to bring a lot of autonomy to the TEC in terms of having addresses to mint tokens and to make the distribution of the Sourcecred rewards. And then once we have this ready, Mateo will manually add everything to the Sourcecred instance, and then we're going to decide the first distribution. And we were thinking of a very small number, like 10 impact hours, just to test, because if anything goes wrong, it's just 10 impact hours. Do you guys have anything to add, Santi or Mateo?
No, just. Oh, so go ahead, Mateo. Sorry.
No, go ahead, Santi. I was going to say that.
Just to warn everyone that Sourcecred is a beast, and it's not easy to manage absolutely everything. That's one of the reasons we want to launch small, with a small distribution, see how everything evolves. Probably the initial distributions may be a little, I don't want to say wild, but we may enter some kind of weird things or little things. It's important for you to check and to figure out if you feel comfortable with outcome that you get from Sourcecred and the income that you get from the distribution. If you see any anomaly, just let us know. And that's why we're testing, and that we are open. We'd love to get as much feedback as possible. We're doing this to be, to have a tool that's fair and that distributes correctly and counts any contribution from anyone. And that's the purpose of Sourcecred.
Thank you. And then I just put the glossary hack here because we had a hack session this week and a lot of people jumped into it. And I think all of us, we realized how much work it is. It's very, like, sometimes you can spend maybe 15 minutes in just one description, because it's like how to make something complicated simple. So it's there. Feel free to jump in. I will book another session for us to continue hacking on it. But feel free, anyone, to jump in async and add your points and edit stuff. It's all open. And let's go to the hatch party. So here's the dashboard. And part of why I started the call with this reflections is for us to like first not feel intimidated about this, because we're having such a long process of education and we are all very available to answer questions and to talk about this. And also, if somebody doesn't feel comfortable on creating a proposal, they can just fork another one that already exists. And that's another like really cool point, that maybe you see someone that you do trust on their opinion, and it's like, oh, this kind of looks good, but maybe this thing I just want to change a little bit. And it's very like easy, and the responsibilities for making these choices are going to be shared among us all, because we're all going to be voting into it. So, Griff, do you want to add anything, or do you want to lead us into it?
I think what you just said at the end is the most important part. The best place to start is someone else's proposal. This might look a little intimidating, but if you click the link above that said vote on blah, 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 and go to the token log, vote on configuration submissions, you can see the other top voted proposals. Now, right now, there's only 3 really that have been voted on, because, you know, we just started this and it's just about to go. But you can see like there's the default, just straight up the defaults that Vitor chose for this. This is the technocracy. So our economy, the technocracy's choice. You know, it can be fun. The technocracy has its place. But the other choices, I think it's good to leave this open right on those charts, actually. It's perfect. Yeah. And then you can click the other 2 as well. So the first one is design that's really focused on trying to raise a lot of money. And so the parameters were chosen with a goal of reaching $10 million. And then the other one is a small cap that's a little more biased towards the builders. This is like saying, hey, the people who were here, they should have most of the governance power, and we don't need to raise so much money. I think the cap here is like 3 mil. Yeah, 3 mil. And so you can actually look at these charts and you can compare them and see, oh, like you can like the pie chart at the bottom is the blue space is how much tokens are controlled by the builders, people with impact hours. And so you can see, oh, this is what it at the max goal, the target goal, and the min goal. This is how it flows. Yeah, and you can kind of go and look between the 2. The black triangle in that pie chart is the money that can't be rage quit and is guaranteed to move on. So you can kind of see that this one is a little more like social minded and egalitarian, and it's like focused on the community. Whereas the backer, the one that's trying to get all the money, it has a different situation. And yeah, and so all of these, and if you scroll down to the other chart, there's another table. It's a picture, and zoom in. This has a lot of interesting information. That was the table. This has a lot of interesting information as well. This kind of shows, because the main thing you're designing in this dashboard is the relationship between the builders and the backers. Who gets tokens and how many, right? And the dependent variable, the question mark is, well, how much money do we raise? And we don't know. But this table will tell you what the results of these parameters are for each amount. So like if we raise $1 million, then one impact hour will be worth $72 on this one. Yeah, if you zoom in a little more. So on this one, and scroll over. So if we raise $1 million at the, then it'll tell you what the impact rate will be. It'll let's say $3 million, or let's just stop moving the screen so I can read the screen. So it'll tell you the impact hour rate, which is like the value of one impact hour. And then if you can zoom in a little bit more, I should have been sharing screen. So the total supply by builders, which is the percentage of tokens that the people with impact hours get. The non-redeemable amount, this is the stuff that is like guaranteed to move forward, assuming the commons upgrade happens, can't be rage quit out. The backers rage quit percent, which is kind of like a symbol of how little risk there is. Like if you put in $100 into this thing and things don't work out, for some reason you don't like the TEC anymore, you can actually rage quit and take out 86 at the min goal, 1.5. So there's a lot less risk for people who want to put money in based on this. And so there's a lot of data here for sure. But there's also a lot of context. And I think if you guys read through one of these results, just read through all three of these results, and you can read the text. If you actually read the text, and I hope that you'll be able to understand kind of the main points. And of these three, you could probably pick one and click if you scroll down a little bit more, like all the way to the end, basically, there's like this giant table with all the links. So if you click that, it'll auto-populate the dashboard with these parameters. So this one is like, hey, let's go for big money. Let's go for big money. Let's get $10 million in this bad boy, right? And so certain choices were made to make it favorable to backers to get this much money. And then in the hatch, that's what you're deciding is who gets tokens, right? It's important. It's an important decision. And so who gets tokens is kind of the first decision. And then if you scroll down to the bottom, for the DAO choice, you can choose like, how does the DAO make decisions? And so in the explanation for this one, the person chose a very high support required because they let in a bunch of degens into the hatch. Well, not degens, but they made it really easy for people to buy into it. So they might not be as engaged. So they had a low quorum with 1%, but they wanted to avoid issues. So they also made a support required of 95%, so that if people see that this vote is bad, it's really easy to cancel it. So it's easy to pass a vote because there might be a lot of voter apathy, since a lot of people that just put money in. But then it's also really easy to stop a vote with a high support required. And this is nice to explain because there's a dynamic, this is a holistic design. And so, okay, well, if the hatch is going for a lot of money, then we want this kind of decision-making process. If the hatch has just a bunch of builders in it and they have a lot of voting power, well, these are the engaged people. We can have a higher quorum percent, and we can reduce support required and have different interactions. So, that's kind of my brief explainer. I guess the most important thing is the why. This is the first time that I have ever heard of where an economy was designed from the bottom up. It's the first time in the history of humanity, okay? Like every economy we've ever participated up until this point has been a top-down decision-making process. And crypto made it way cooler because before economies were top-down and then forced on people. Now it's top-down. With crypto, it's still top-down. There's the technocracy deciding everything. But at least you get to opt in. right? So there's like external validation on that economy. But this is the first time ever where the community before launch gets to actually have input on how the economy is created. So, this could be an opportunity for you to become a token engineer, like full on, and actually design your own economy and participate in something pretty huge.
Thanks, Griff. Does anybody has questions, or should we just jump into it and make a few proposals, and then on the process of doing so, probably questions will pop up.
Skip to the party and celebrate the first time of a bottom-up economy.
Yeah. Cool. So the link is in the agenda. I'll also post in the Softgov channel.
I